Hello there. My name's Mark, aka the Canardian, and this is episode 33 of the Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined as always by my trusty co-pilot, Charlie Carden. Charlie, how you doing tonight?
When doves cry. Purple rain. I'm good. No, we're recording on a Sunday late, which is, hey, all shapes and sizes, but that's why I have coffee, which I probably should have made too. But if I get a little drifty somewhere in the middle, that's on me. But I'll do the best I can. I promise.
We'll make loud noises and obnoxious gestures until you wake up.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I like it. It'll work.
And just in case Charlie falls asleep, I brought in some special muscle to help me keep on track, and that is our special guest Riley, aka Riley Antwine. I said that right?
Well,
okay.
on Twitter it's Antoine.
Antoine.
On Twitter it's Antoine because my middle name is too long.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I wasn't sure if there was a Star Wars spin on it or if that was like the last name. So
Tatooine, Tatooine, yes.
That's what I was thinking, right? Like I was kind of that's kind of what I figured.
Wait a minute.
Right. Stop.
True. True.
Wait a minute. So there's where the mistake kind of came from. But Riley, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome, and I'm super excited. Because when we started talking, we were talking about a special episode. We've been doing movie recaps and, of course, the Book of Boba Fett recaps, and this one's going to be a little bit different. So I'm ready to get into this, but first we need to learn a little bit about you. So, Riley, how'd you get into Star Wars?
Literally, I know a lot of people say as long as they can remember, but as long as I can remember. I was watching it as I was a baby with my dad, I'm sure. I don't remember a time without Star Wars in my life, which I'm thankful for, and I'm kind of jealous for people that are experiencing it for the first time when they're actually aware of what's going on, because I've just grown up knowing it, so, yeah.
Sweet.
What's your favorite movie? Star Wars movie.
My favorite Star Wars movie? I'm a prequels person, so my favorite is Revenge of the Sith. But I do gauge my favorites by favorite of each trilogy, but Revenge of the Sith is my favorite overall, I think.
That's what I seem to hear out of most people that are, and we've had a lot of you, just because I think Mark and I are pretty close in age, but we've had a lot of younger folks that have come on and guessed with us, and of the people who love on the prequels, as a lot of you young folks too, because again, that was your trilogy growing up, the OT was our trilogy growing up. Yeah, people will absolutely land on Revenge of the Sith because there aren't nearly the cringeworthy moments that you get in certainly episodes 1 and in some places in episode 2. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
You can't argue with the longest sword fight in cinematic history.
Right.
Oh my God.
Very true.
Damn. So good.
Beautiful and also very painful. Star Wars pain is the perfect amount.
Very true. So you mentioned your favorite in each trilogy. So now, I have to ask, which is your favorite in the other two trilogies?
I always go back and forth between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So, that kind of flip-flops for me.
Fair.
And while I'm aware this is a very controversial opinion, but my favorite of the sequel trilogy is The Last Jedi.
All right.
I think it's just absolutely beautiful. It's just gorgeous.
There's a lot of stuff I love about that movie.
There's very little in any Star Wars opinion that's not made controversial by someone. So,
right.
Live your Star Wars truth. That works for me.
Right.
Yeah. I think I need a hot take button, boom, hot take.
Hot take.
Right.
Some kind of graphic up on the screen or something like that. But we always, it seems like every week or two we have someone coming on that's this is going to be controversial. And we do it all. It's 33 episodes of people being my favorite one's The Last Jedi. Come at me. And it's
right.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Oh my God.
All opinions are valid. And like I said, there's a lot to love in that movie.
And I know it has a lot of shortcomings.
Right.
I'm very aware. I'm not someone that's just this is the perfect movie and you can't say anything to me about it. But it's just gorgeous. I love it.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get into the sequels in this rewatch project. But right now, let's keep learning a little bit more about you. So I don't know where you're going to go with this one. Favorite character?
Oh gosh. this is always so hard for me. It's very hard to pick favorites. I think probably either Cal Kestis, if we're talking about expanded.
Absolutely.
If we're talking about if we're talking about movies, I'm between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
All right. Good choices all around.
And Padme is obviously there, but we just didn't get enough of her for her to be like, oh, she's my absolute favorite. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It's weird that, like, how much, when you said she didn't get enough screen time, and it's weird thinking the last few weeks about how much screen time influences favorite characters. You'll see my Din Djarin helmet behind me here, and I've said it on the show a couple of times now that he's quickly become my favorite, or if not like one of my favorite characters, and it's because of that screen time. The more we learn, the more we connect with that character, and there's like him kind of becoming a dad around the same time I became a dad, and like going through the last couple of years of like both having like this small weird little gremlin child running around that you probably just heard at the start of the episode when I didn't mute my mic in time. But that's like, the more screen time, like the more you can connect with those characters. So it's good for some characters like Din, but bad for some characters like Padme. So
exactly.
But I totally get that she's so badass.
Right. And like, while I did get like more of her in her books that are like also still coming out, it's different when it's on the screen.
Absolutely.
Big time. Oh yeah.
That's why I want something with the High Republic, like on screen. The books, the comics, everything's fine. It's all great. They're expanding lightsaber lore in a way that makes me just so freaking happy. But like, just put something on the screen. We're missing movies. Charlie, I know like you wanted to mention a little bit about Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about that because we recorded SFU tonight. Katie was on with us as well. And just talking about it, to me, it seems incomprehensible that Star Wars, since, for the last almost 45 years, has been a movie franchise. And in the last 3 years, has completely up it. Now there are no movies on the horizon. They can't decide if they want to get this movie made. They're going back and forth. Maybe we'll get it next year. Maybe we won't, but there's nothing else on the slate. Yet we know of all these television programs that are being made for Disney Plus. So it is just, and people are gobbling it up. People are loving it. Even if the book of Boba Fett wasn't the greatest, it's still, we know that we're going to be on to the next thing. You know what I mean? We know that Kenobi is coming up, and we know that Andor is after that, and we know that. Now I'm drawing a blank. Ahsoka is on down the road. We know these things are coming because they're being produced.
And the thing that you said, that Boba Fett not being the greatest, to like the hardcore Star Wars fans on Twitter that we have like in our little circles and stuff, that was the like one of the most watched Disney Plus shows.
Right.
Like the Boba Fett finale beat out season 2 Mando finale, which to me was like,
what? Yeah, exactly.
Fucking Star Wars ever. But like with Luke and like everything, like that, like. How can you top that with Boba Fett? And then Boba Fett like blew it out of the water with how many people watched. So it's like, I don't know, like it's working for them.
Like you said, the hardcores, the hardliners have become the regular folks. There's no fringe anymore. It's just enormous. But anyway, back on topic. Go for it.
Right. So we got favorite character, light side or dark side. If you had some force powers, which way would you lean?
I'd say light side, like absolutely, that's kind of where I align, but I feel like with my emotional side, I would accidentally be a Sith.
That is the first time we've heard that. I love it.
Accidentally a Sith sounds like that would be like a pop punk band out of Canada from the late 90s. I mean, Mark, help me out. What do you think? Like, and Alanis Morissette got her start in Accidentally a Sith in 1992.
See, my mind instantly went to romantic comedy with like, I don't know, like Katherine Heigl and like someone. I really loved her, man, but she was accidentally a Sith. All right.
But the heart wants what it wants. It's bad.
Well,
accidentally, that is literally the first time we've heard that. So
it's because like I'm a very passionate person and I have attachments. Like I'm not gonna like resist attachments. That doesn't make sense in my brain. So I would accidentally be a Sith.
Right. Okay. And you wouldn't even notice until your eyes turn yellow when you're standing in a bunch of dead kids and you're just like, what happened?
Exactly. It's just like accidents happen.
It'll be your record needle scratch. So I guess you're wondering how I got here. What
Exactly.
happened? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's oh man, I love that answer. Because I'm just thinking of all the funny things, like just oops, I just killed a planet. Cool. Since this episode, for anyone if they just played this episode and they missed the description and the title, we're going to be talking about Jedi Fallen Order. So with that in mind, I have a couple of special questions that we don't usually ask people, but I'm going to ask you. What was your first Star Wars game that you played?
I believe it was on the Nintendo 64 when I was a very small child, and it was the Star Wars Episode 1, Pod Racer game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you play they re-released that on Switch recently?
I haven't replayed it yet.
It is so good. I love it. It brought me straight back to those like N64 youth days.
I feel like it'll definitely be much easier when I replay it, because I'm not a small child trying to figure out the Nintendo 64.
Maybe don't underestimate how quick your reflexes were as a child, because like that was one thing that I noticed replaying it. I was like, this game will kind of kick your ass, and I kind of remember being better at it when I was like a youngin' with the N64. So like, yeah,
it's like, what is this, a Dark Souls game? What's happening?
One of the absolute the only games that I'm not a gamer, which will kind of well known, and which is why I'll be hanging back a little bit more for this one. But the kind of games that I enjoy, the Lego games, it was because of the Lego Star Wars: A Complete Saga, the one that came out as the other ones finish up. So in like 07, 08. The two worst levels on that one are the Mustafar level at the end of episode 3, because you got to get past the lava and not fall through or whatever, and the pod racing level is just god awful. And I just played it again because I have PlayStation Now, and I just played it again. And you're like jamming your thumb over, being like, "No, I got to be over on the left," and a rock will land on you. So I just slow reflexes.
Yeah.
So that's your first, but which one's your favorite Star Wars video game?
Jedi Fallen Order.
All right, that's a perfect. Yeah. I was hoping you'd say that so we could like lead straight in.
That's like any testament to that. Cal's lightsaber.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would turn it on, but I realized before we started that it's dead. So.
Oh no! He's dead, Jim.
I have my lightsaber here. It's charging as well. Because I was playing with it earlier and it just straight shut off. And I was like,
I don't know why I never bring mine down. I do, of course, have my bucket here. I don't know why I never remember to bring my lightsaber down. I will do that eventually.
Well, speaking of lightsabers, this is a good time to plug Level Up Lightsabers. There's a link in the description and on my social media channels for a little affiliate link that if you purchase a lightsaber from Level Up, I get a little kickback. You can help support me and the show. So go there and check things out. I can't remember if he has the Fallen Order lightsaber on there or not. I've seen that on a few websites, and I'm super tempted to order it every time I see it because I love that saber.
You and I should totally have a chat about my yellow Guardian, Luke post Empire Strikes Back lightsaber at some point. I just keep forgetting.
So the Level Up ones change color to whatever you want. So if you find the hilt that like kind of looks right, it just cycles through any color that you want to. So you can make it yellow and do your thing. Yeah.
We'll make a plan. I love it.
We'll have a chat. Yeah. Which is funny. So in Jedi Fallen Order, like that's the lightsaber you start with. But one of the things that I loved about it was that it came out. So 2019, it came out November, I believe.
I think November.
I have a Wikipedia link. Perfect. There you go. Yep, November 2019.
Not bad. So I had just gotten back from Galaxy's Edge in Disney World and built my own lightsaber, and then I start playing this game. So that was like the end of middle of September or so when I went to Florida and got back and then started playing this game like 2 months later, and I could build the lightsaber that I built in Galaxy's Edge in the game. So I wanted to play through with like that lightsaber that you have, but I couldn't resist being like, hold on, like Cal Kestis, like the Ginger Jedi Like,
Right.
I can play as my lightsaber with like a Ginge. Let's do this. This is great. So
Gingy. Get gingy with it. Do it.
yeah, that was one of the things I really loved about that game, was like that level of customization. So before we start into this, Charlie, you're not a big video game guy. I don't know how many of our listeners like video games or don't. So let's maybe start with an overall synopsis of what happened in this game. Charlie, I know you have the Wikipedia. Do you want to jump on that and tell people kind of like a quick overview?
I will do so. They don't have the greatest of the quick interviews, but I will summarize it just from the plot blurb here. So we are 5 years post Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3, and the Galactic Republic's conversion over to the Galactic Empire finds a former Jedi Padawan, Cal Kestis, voiced by the Ginge, Cameron Monaghan, of Gotham and Shameless fame. If you've seen him, he's working in basically a chop field. You know, kind of like the what you see Bill Burr working in, and at the end of Mandalorian, his last appearance, where he's doing scrapper stuff, and he one day has to use his Force abilities to save a coworker. And by doing that, he catches, the Empire. He gets back on their radar. They send a couple of Inquisitors down, and then he is off and running to escape from them when another former Jedi individual, though you don't find about that right away. Her name is Sarah, played by actress Deborah Wilson, finds him and gets him involved in a plot, a mission to recover a Jedi Holocron, which contains the name of younglings across the galaxy, which I believe was also a story in the Clone Wars one. So this was kind of a riff on that as well. We get, we visit Kashyyyk in this. We visit Dathomir. We get a little touch of the Night Sisters. You get the return of Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera, but he's not quite so hunky-junky because it's several years before Rogue One. And at the end of it, you have your, big slug out between the big villain whose name Talon. I believe it is Talon.
That's one of the villains. Not quite
a villain on Dathomir.
Yes, the villain on Dathomir is the one big slug out. But then, yes, we find a very familiar face at the end that Cal has to take down. But of course, he escapes with his life. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to give it all away. So that's my nickel recreation. So and I know all this because I didn't play the game, but I'm a very big advocate. And you'll find that I'm a lot better versed in Battlefront 2, which we'll talk about a little bit further down the road, of watching cutscene movies that are assembled on YouTube. So this one I watched was about 2 hours. Didn't get, as opposed to the Battlefront one that I have saved, I didn't really witness a lot of the gameplay, so that was a little jarring. But it did give me the breadth of the narrative, so that's how I at least know this much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was a great summary. Thank you for that. That was good, because I do want to warn people, and you did a really good job of not spoiling anything, but I do want to warn people from now on, we're going to be talking about our favorite characters, our favorite scenes, all that kind of stuff, and spoilers are free. So this is a 2-3-year-old game now.
Right. Yeah.
Play it or watch it if you haven't and you don't want it spoiled. Pause and we'll see you next time.
No big deal. Yeah, it's not like this is last week's episode of Boba Fett, and we're like, because on podcasts people always jump on and spoil stuff. So I would like to imagine that people know that that's what we're going to be talking about.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to give that warning because I know some people haven't, and I know not everyone plays video games like you, but I know you watch the cutscenes, Charlie. So it was it's good that way. But some people might not, and spoilers are always tough. So, Riley.
Yes.
Why do you think this game's important in like the overall Star Wars story, where it fits in, not even just narratively, but like as I think like the first really big story focused Star Wars game in canon once Disney took over?
I feel like there's been a Survivor story before with Kanan Jarrus and Rebels, but it didn't really focus on his story, and this is kind of the first focus in canon Star Wars, at least, of a Jedi survivor, but not only a Jedi survivor that was an adult like Obi-Wan, but a child
Right.
So
Big time.
Cal was about like 12 or 13 when Order
Yeah,
66 happened.
he looked younger still. He looked more like he was 8 or 9. But again, you only add 5 years into this, so yeah, you figure he has to be 12 or 13. He just looked really young.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the grittiest parts of this, is when what happened. Just for him to have that emotional, you almost could, if it was a cartoon, it would be the equivalent of stink lines coming off his head. He was just that to me, not to jump ahead, was one of the most powerful parts of this, I think.
And while just a small comment on jumping ahead to just that scene, I have never sobbed while playing a video game scene before.
Wow. Big time.
Before this game. Imagine. It was awful, but like in a good way. It was like beautiful storytelling, but gut-wrenching, seeing it from the perspective of a child, and not like a child with Anakin, but
just cutting off the heads of daisies. That was from Robot Chicken. I remember it was like, okay, Anakin, you can get through this. He protects himself, so just out trimming the daisies, and he gets home that night, and he finally snaps out of it. He's like, oh my god, what have I done?
Exactly.
That's how it starts.
Accidentally a Sith, yes.
That scene is super gut wrenching. Like, this is, and that's one of the things that I noticed with this game was the story doesn't hold anything back. It tells a true story of like that scene is enough, but like the relationship between Trilla and Seer, like that whole dynamic, and like the torture that she went through, and then cutting herself off from the Force, and then becoming an Inquisitor, and all that kind of stuff, like, is just like it doesn't hold anything back from the like you said, that those Star Wars emotions that are so prevalent in the best of Star Wars.
I would say, and again, focusing back on Cal being anywhere between 8 and 13 years old, because like I said, I thought he looked a lot younger. You think about the traditional Jedi way is that the Jedi are in the temple, and you have the guy wearing the Cerebro helmet that tells you where the Force sensitive younglings are out. And so they go out and they visit Mr. and Mrs. Kestis, and here's newborn Cal. He's 2 weeks old. We're like, yeah, he's Force sensitive. We're just going to take him now, and here's $50 or however that transaction works. And then they raise him, and when he gets old enough, they hook him up with another Jedi, and then that Jedi simply becomes that Padawan's entire emotional support system. So to then witness, and again, he couldn't have even have been a Padawan for, I don't know when Padawaning starts. Think about how young Ahsoka was. She looked like she was about his age. So let's say he had been a Padawan for like 6 months or something like that.
Right.
His master, whose name I'm forgetting,
Jaro Tapal.
Yeah, Jaro. It was a Lasat, like what's his butt in Rebels, whose name I'm forgetting.
Zeb.
Zeb. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm getting creamed. I would get creamed in trivia playing against you. I know I would. To what? Yeah, I mean, his entire emotional support world was just devastated in a single shot, and then he's alone in an escape pod blasting off towards a planet. Just to watch his complete it was indescribable.
To know how to go into survival mode at that age too, because you start off and like the way the game introduces you with one of my favorite Star Wars musical bits from the Who like made up a language for this game and recorded the music, like just phenomenal. But like the way it comes in and just introduces the character, but then you see that struggle of like reconnecting with the Force to grab his friend. But then you start, as it keeps going, you kind of start to realize like this kid was so young and knew enough to like cut himself off from the Force, to hide himself away, to like completely go into that survival mode. And you're like, as an adult playing the game, it's like, okay, yeah, this is cool. And then it kind of clicks in. It's like, man, like most of us, it's like you're a couple of grades into school, and
Right.
like think about yourself in like second or third grade or whatever it is,
Right.
like having to just fend for yourself and figure all this stuff out and like completely just detach yourself from everything. It's such a emotionally wrecking story.
I was going to say that like while this is like the first canon kind of soul focused survivor Star Wars story that we've gotten, it's also kind of one that isn't a surviving Jedi waiting and then starting to fight. He very much desperately wants to stay hidden. He does not want to be found. He does not want to join a fight to become, like, make the place better. He just wants to survive and be to himself on this garbage planet that he's working on.
The good old garbage planet.
Right. Yeah. And he just is, I don't want to say content with his life on Braca, but he's doing it solely to survive. He doesn't care about destroying the Empire like these other survivor stories that we've gotten.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And because he's like a good-souled person, he had to use the Force to save his friend, which then alerted the Inquisitors to come after him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's such a good Jedi. And you just made me realize that by saying he doesn't want revenge. He doesn't want to go after. He's not angry. He just
wants
broken
to live. He just wants to live.
Just like he does want to live, but then and he just has to save his friend. That's man, you just added another little heartbreak there for me.
Peel back another layer of the onion. Yeah.
And while Jaro Tapal, his entire, like you said, emotional support system is killed right in front of his eyes, he's also a child that's befriended all of these clones. And all of a sudden they're pointing guns at him and he doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, they could have made you pick up at that scene of just like watching his master get killed, and that could have been emotional enough, but they do make you play through that of like going through and talking to the clones and being like, hey guys,
high
what's
five
going on?
and
like, it's just they did such a great job. And I do want to ask, as someone who played the game, I found this game tough. You mentioned Dark Souls earlier, I think. Like it is that kind of game. It's unforgiving. So for someone like Charlie that said they want to play the Lego games, like as a big Star Wars fan, if you tried to do this, even on easy mode, this game can kick your ass. Do you think they may have went a little too hard on the like unforgiving bit, or do you like the gameplay? How did you feel like playing this game?
I do like the gameplay. As someone who wants my friends that aren't gamers to play it, to experience it because they like Star Wars, I don't think they would necessarily have a good time even on easy mode, because some of the creatures will still absolutely kick your ass, even on easy mode. But also, even on easy mode, you're kind of, if you're like into immersion, you're just like, this is what Cal is going up against. Even if I'm doing it on the easiest mode, it's still going to be hard.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like both ways. Yeah.
For sure. I guess actually, you know what? I was gonna shift gears for a second, but I'm gonna go back because we got a lot of feedback on Twitter today when I asked people like what they thought of this game. There was so much feedback, so I'm gonna jump into that now before we get into some more favorite characters and different things. So we got Shay Vizsla on Twitter. Shay_Vizsla, if anyone wants to look her up. But she had a ton to say, which was awesome. What should I say? I mean, I love the game generally. I like that there are more than just one planet to go to. I love the darkness of Dathomir. Purge Trooper killing is satisfying. Charlie, I know you shared some pictures in our little group chat earlier. About,
I did. I was out and about at GameStop, which is what EAB Games there in Canada marks the same company.
They changed it. It's GameStop now. It's
wow!
Throwing me off. Yeah,
they've gone international. But yeah, I had saved up points. And I had a $15 voucher, and so I got Cal Deluxe, which is the second version of it, which was $30, so I got it for $15. But he comes with the 2 sabers, and he comes with his little droid buddy, and he comes with the little birdie thing, and I really dug it. So yeah, and I had picked up the Purge Trooper a while back because it was the same thing. I'm like, well, I got to pick up something, and I got something. So, but I'm like, I usually don't get just the gaming figures, but now I have the two of them together. They're beautiful together. They make beautiful music together.
Perfect. It was very satisfying getting that. Shay also continued and said, I like how it's possible to customize your lightsaber, like we were talking about before. There are some downsides, to be fair. She asked, should I add more? So I was like, yeah, absolutely. Someone else wrote in, was there a romance hinted at between Cal and the Night Sister, Marin?
I had a vibe.
I kind of hope so, yeah. They're, I like it. What do you guys think of those characters, like exploring their togetherness in maybe sequels?
I feel like as of right now, it's kind of a headcanon. Like, you can decide if there's a vibe there or not until we get into the sequels. I feel like there is a little vibe there, but also maybe some hesitancy on her side of beginning to trust someone, especially a Jedi, which she's been taught to hate Jedi. And
yes, the Romeo and Juliet and Sam and Diane all rolled into one.
Right, and then him being trained as a Padawan, learning that attachment is bad, no romance, nothing.
Right.
So that could also be something for him if he's still following, because it seems like for the most part he's still morally following the Jedi code, even if he's not a Jedi himself.
And a Night Sister's not afraid to go into the dark side, right? Like, that's
so
he could see that and be like, well, you're not Sith, but you're maybe not cool.
Like, an accident.
My gothic girlfriend. Watch out.
Here we go.
My girlfriend.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Romance in Star Wars has always been disastrous. Even if it looks like it's going okay, then even if it's Han and Leia, it's patricide. He's still going to get killed by their grumpy emo son. So, it didn't work out for Rey. She kisses the guy and he dies. Luke, we don't know. Padme and Anakin.
Let's not talk about them.
Yes, it's spousal abuse,
my heart.
And then he bursts into flames. So it's just, but for the sake of the both of them, maybe we should hope not.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, the only in canon movie romance we got from Luke was with his sister. So that's not awesome.
Oh, okay. Oh no.
That's not the best. Yeah, you're right. Like, maybe this could be like the redeeming Star Wars relationship. I ship it. Let's have that in the sequel.
Ship it.
So we got some more. I love the way they made Dathomir, the wild creatures, especially the Nidak, and also that boss fight bird thing was great.
Boss fight bird thing.
Fight bird thing.
We got someone, Alex Large 75 on Twitter, saying that boss fight bird was a heck of a sod to beat. But Shay Vizsla also chimed back in and said the Zepho tombs were awesome, especially the Guardians. And I said that, like, the Zepho being introduced in this game was I thought it was so cool because it was a full species that was long before, like, anything we've seen, I think, so far. Extinct species now, but all force sensitive.
Yeah.
So really, really cool. And yeah, so Shay, we had a great conversation on Twitter. Shay, if you're interested in coming on the show, let me know. But yeah, we could learn so much from the Zepho. They were force sensitive creatures. So were they some kind of Jedi? Like, I don't think they were Jedi. I think that, like, this is like the Night Sisters. We talked about this, I think, on the last episode, right, Charlie? Like,
yeah,
I'd like to see more force sensitive groups explored.
Right.
Whether it's the Night Sisters, go way back in time and explore more of the Zepho, or even flash forward in the future and see, like, does Rey reestablish the Jedi, or does she make something new?
Right, because
that
again,
stripped
the Jedi they're a sect the same way the Death Watch is a sect with the Mandalorians. It's not to dig too deep in talking about organized religion, which is not a favorite topic of mine. But the Force, just like God, is there for everyone, and the way you connect to the Force and the way you connect to the Lord or whatever it is that you reach out to is ultimately the battle that's fought within your own heart. So yeah, it shouldn't just be like, oh, we're the Jedi and we're the Force and we master the Force. No, the Force is out there. The Force is everything. The way you connect to it has to do with what's in your heart. There's my message. There's my message.
Funnily enough, every time someone mentions like Sith, Jedi, and then Gray Jedi, I'm just like, there's no Gray Jedi. It's just a Force user. They're just there. They don't care. Right. They'll do whatever they want. Like, it's not an affiliation.
Yeah. That's well, let's not get into that because I'll go off on a tangent. So I don't even know exactly how many underscores are in here. I'm going to say __phi ___ on Twitter. And I don't know. And they responded and said, it's buggy. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, but it is pretty close. Great gameplay, great story. And playing as a Star Wars fan was just something else. So yeah, I agree with that. Like, as a video game, especially right away, it was buggy as hell. But as a Star Wars fan, it was like, I cannot put my controller down. I need to see where the story is going. And like you said, you want those Star Wars fans to play it, but like, for non-Star Wars, would you recommend this like to just video game playing fans?
I would say, well, yes and no, because if they love a good story, regardless if they're Star Wars fans or not, it's a great game to play. Yeah. But also, knowing a lot of my friends that are video game people, but not Star Wars fans necessarily, they would have a bunch of problems with the mechanics. Simple things such as they want dismemberment because it's a lightsaber and it would make sense, and like stuff like that. Like I obviously understand why it isn't that way for multiple reasons, but like a lot of people would gripe about things that are just small, but it would add up for them. If that makes sense.
I get that. Yep. We heard from Dantivirus on Twitter said we got to see Order 66 from a new perspective. We better understand the fear, chaos, and damage it did, which I think we kind of covered, but like, holy crap. Yet we get to see Cal survive, adapt, and rise to become more. That is such a great summation of like everything about why that game is so great. Like, yeah, we do get to see him survive and become more. And then his journey back to being a Jedi or whatever he will eventually become. So thank you to everyone that wrote in on Twitter. That was some great conversations, and I apologize if I missed any. I was very quickly scrolling back through. So we heard again, from what people enjoyed, but I want to ask you guys a few things that you enjoyed. First off, characters, favorite characters. Riley, we'll start with you.
Cal Kestis.
Hell yeah.
Like I said earlier, he's one of my, just in general, one of my favorite Star Wars characters because of this game. But also, I gained a favorite droid, BD-1.
Yes.
That is my boy. Oh my god.
Did you freak out as bad as I did when a BD droid showed up in Book of Boba Fett?
I literally cried.
Tying those threads together. And BD was actually voiced by Ben Burt himself. The famed Star Wars soundtrack, the guy who created all the Star Wars noises you love.
Wow. Did not know that.
Aha! Wikipedia!
Perfect. Yeah, I did not cry when I saw him in Book of Boba Fett, but I did stand up and cheer off of my couch. So
I'm a crier. So.
Similarly, like emotive reactions. For sure. Any other favorites?
I really liked the complexity of Seer. Just like she cut herself off of the Force, and she did not want to go back to it. And she had a complexity. It was just like remorseful because of obviously what happened with Trilla. But yeah, I think she was just a very interesting character.
I want to say the same thing about Trilla herself. Like, I thought she was such a complex character, and you could see anytime she took that helmet off, like you could see the pain and struggle with everything she's gone through, and like this was her way out. And you saw that with like some Jedi becoming Inquisitors. Like that was their way out. They chose to survive. Cal survived in his way, and they're surviving in their way. And it's like to see that pain in her eyes. A, holy crap, what an actress, like doing
Yes.
that, but also like, holy crap, the motion capture and stuff that they were able to put into this game with hiring real actors and doing the facial scans and stuff. Absolutely phenomenal. And she was a standout for sure.
Right.
Charlie, anyone else for you?
You know, I mean, a lot of it has been covered. I mean, you've hit the big beats. Of course, I like Cal as well. He's our hero. He's the most reluctant of the heroes, which you can appreciate because, again, that's like, Han Solo was the original reluctant Star Wars hero, but he's got nothing on Cal. Because Cal's just trying to keep his, head buried under a rock so that somebody doesn't smash the rock down on top of his head. But the thing that I like, and I think you guys touched on as well, is my favorite journey is Sarah's journey, because again, you get to see it fully fleshed out later in the game, is that she was tortured and she broke. And, I'm so used to seeing like, Jack Bauer on 24 and they'll torture him until he dies, but he won't break. Or, this secret agent, he's trained and he'll never break. Well, she's a Jedi, an experienced master of the Force, and a couple of zaps from this big zappy machine, and she was singing like a canary. So even the heroes are still human beings. Even the best of us will crack. And she had to pay in dividends for it because it led to her Padawan being compromised, becoming a Night Sister, and then ultimately dying at the hands of the Vader, which was like, you could see that coming a mile away. When he walked up behind her, it's not like he was going to give her a hug. It was, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Choppy, chop.
For sure, yeah. It's, oh man, what a moment. I got to replay this game again. This will be like my fourth time, but like, yeah, this is, 100%. I have to shout out Marin as a character that I loved instantly, and we hardly got to spend enough time with her. So I'm really hoping like either the sequel, again, explores their relationship, or just like make her a second playable character. I don't want to say get rid of Cal altogether, but like I almost did. But I wouldn't mind if she was kind of like the main playable character. We still got a lot of Cal, but like, if she kind of like took over and explored her side, because like the Night Sisters are a fallen order too.
Right. Yeah.
That's true.
Like, right along, and it's I want them to explore that of like, what are the Jedi after they fell? What are the Night Sisters after they fall? Can they work together? Can they rebuild? Do they have to rebuild in the same way? Like, is Cal gonna obviously, not rebuild the exact same way that Luke did because of the choices he made kind of at the end of the game of like, no, let's just destroy this and make it so no one can find these kids and let them just kind of grow up and hopefully live happy lives. And
they turn into Broom Boy from the end of The Last Jedi.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, that means there are all these Force sensitive kids out there who were not Brian from Pink Milk. I'm gonna throw you one here. They weren't kidnapped by the Jedi, or they weren't kidnapped by the Sith. Right. Can't believe I just said that about the Jedi, but Brian's probably like clapping him right now. So, big proponent of like the Jedi are bad because they kidnap kids. Well, yeah, all right, kind of. I'm starting to see things his way, which is a bad precedent to set.
It's very complex. It's very complex.
It is. Brian,
layers like an onion. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such an interesting. I can't wait for them to revisit that, and I'm happy that they've at least officially announced a sequel. But speaking of Marin, Dathomir gets a ton of like love on. We saw that on Twitter. So favorite planets for you guys that we explored in here, because there are a few.
I do love how peaceful Bogano is, but I will say Zepho takes the cake for me.
Hell yeah. Just
learning, because I love lore, and just that planet is nothing but lore, and it's just you're learning of this entire new species that were Force users that were not Jedi, nothing connected to any of that. They're just kind of their own thing. Like, while they are extinct, it was just everything on that planet was beautiful. Yeah, except that giant frog thing. There were some non-beautiful things, but I get what that was one a hell of a... Yeah, I love the lore stuff too, and that's why one of my favorites to explore was Ilum. Because we got to see it.
as you know, we saw it in the Clone Wars when the kids went to pick their crystals and the challenges that they went through, and then we see it here where it's fallen by the wayside, and it's kind of gotten disconnected from the Force a little bit, and then we see it sadly turn into Starkiller Base.
Right.
We get to see that evolution of this planet, and it was heartbreaking visiting it, knowing where it ends up as Starkiller. So that one for me was a big one, though, because again, lightsabers are my thing. I love the lore behind lightsabers, and seeing Ilum has a special place to me. So anytime I get to see it or explore it like we did here is big. Charlie.
I will give my shout out to Kashyyyk. The plight of the Wookiees. You know, what about the fucking droid attack on the Wookiees? Remember that the F-bomb that you can stick in any PG-13 movie?
Yeah.
Like I said, the poor Wookiees, and this was really highlighted, I think, in Solo. Were such a I won't say such a peaceful people, but they were politically they were very pivotal, obviously, as outlined in that component of Episode 3. But they were one of the most severe examples of Palpatine's hatred of non-human races, because they're stripping the planet bare, and they've enslaved the Wookiees as manual labor. So the I'm surprised we just didn't see more Wookiees in rebellion, because Saw and his gang obviously liberated all of these ones, and I love Saw's story. By the time we meet him for the first time, he's whack-a-madoo. He looks like he's been sitting in an opium den, because he's nuts. But he really did seem like he had his wits about him here, even though he was still wearing the big football suit. He was. I enjoy the character, but this was before he obviously truly went, like Colonel Kurtz nuts. So
he saw some shit between here and Rogue One.
Yeah, big time, and saw some shit and lost more limbs, and just the tough go of it. So I enjoyed the Kashyyyk part because I enjoy him.
Absolutely. I loved Kashyyyk anyway, just like even how it starts, like the confidence of Cal, just kind of like, I'll try not to die kind of thing, or whatever he says, like, try not to die, like, that's a plan. And he jumps backwards out of a plane, Captain America style, like, do you have a parachute? No! He just jumped, swimming to the walkers, like,
so cool.
Such a badass set piece. Like, the whole, just so cool.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot to this game. We just described a few things of like climbing and we talked about fighting and this and that. What's Charlie, I don't know if you can chime in, maybe you can, like something you saw that you thought was cool, but Riley, playing through, favorite gameplay mechanic. What was your favorite thing to be like, I'm a Jedi now? Like what was that moment for you?
Well, I did really like the gameplay mechanics of like the slowing and like completely like pulling something toward you. I really loved discovering the Force ability of like the Force Echo, of him being able to touch something and like see and hear what was associated with it. And I know all Jedi don't have the same powers, so that's why not every Jedi can do that. We know that. But I just thought that was one of the coolest Force abilities I've ever seen.
Yeah,
that's kind of like what a historian would do that was in the Jedi Order. Like, go around and touch stuff.
Right, and like you can instantly see how that power could have been very, like used in a very different way, like you said, for a historian or something like that, or even a detective or something for the Jedi Order when they were at their kind of peak. I love that, and you already mentioned one of my favorites. I loved the freezing when you got like, I felt when I got that kind of stuff, it was like, you just drop in, there'd be like a bunch of stormtroopers, you'd freeze a couple or laser bolts, or be able to, and then kind of move very quickly and, shoot one off a ledge and chop another in two. And then kind of like you have one left and you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to fight you straight up. Come on, bitch, let's go. And like, there was so much style to this game that you can kind of do things in whatever way you wanted to. So you can kind of go the stealthy and like, I'm going to force push the two of you guys off a cliff. And like, there was that strategy, or you could just go in like a meathead like I did and just be like, I'm just going to fight everything I see. Let's go. Charlie, was there anything that you saw in like cutscenes and movies and stuff that you thought was like a cool addition to what they did with this?
I think you touched it right there. The force freeze and the the touch, which obviously we saw again, like when Rey touched the heritage saber there in the Force Awakens, as the way kind of connecting to an object through the Force. I thought that was pretty damn sweet. Yeah, but again, not playing the game, I saw I had less of an experience with that than you guys did. So, but yeah, that was pretty great.
I mentioned we already talked about a little bit about the lightsabers. Did you play through like the whole game with that lightsaber that you were holding earlier?
I struggled to deviate away from it because not only because it's like, okay, this is like Cal's saber that he's had, and I'm kind of like a very sentimental person, and it's just like this was his master's saber, I
was just gonna say that once you find out what, like I said, I customized mine to look like my actual saber, but once I found out where it was from, because like it doesn't go through linear, like you find that out kind of partway through the story, and I instantly switched back.
Right.
Like, it was, then it means something.
Right. Did I change the color of it? Yes. But for the most part, I did mostly keep it as it was. And I played with the orange saber color that comes with did come with the pre-order and like the deluxe edition. Yeah. And then they gave it to everybody eventually. But when everyone asks what lightsaber color Cal has, everyone says blue. I'm just like, that was his master's color saber, but since this is kind of like exclusive content for Cal, I would say it's orange. Yes. So that's what I went with.
A lot of people say that, and I definitely would agree that because that was an exclusive kind of thing, that seems to be his color, and I hope they lean into that. I hope that the standard one that you start off with in Fallen Order 2 is orange, just to establish that as like an in-canon color, but also like maybe that's kind of a reestablishing color, like Rey's yellow saber. And I'd love to see that, because this is the first canon appearance of a few different colors, but orange especially one of them. I think pink maybe, a few different hues. I hope they do that. So that kind of leads in to what we want from a sequel. I just said mine, like I hope that they establish a little bit more of like, this is Cal's journey, here's his lightsaber color, here's what he wants to do going forward, as whether it's Jedi or establishing something new. We talked about like he and Marin, like are they going to establish some stuff? What do you want in a sequel?
It can go a lot of ways, honestly, because of how it left off. He completely destroyed the Holocron. He wanted nothing to do with rebuilding the Jedi Order. He wanted the kids to be safe. He wanted he wanted for them what he wanted for himself, but couldn't have because he was dragged into this.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, oh no, I want him to like reestablish the Order. It's like, we obviously know that doesn't happen because of canon now.
Exactly, yes.
Right.
And also, that's not what he wanted at all. He destroyed it so it wouldn't happen. But would he, since he's in it now, join the rebellion and start moving things to how we saw the rebellion get to the place where it was? Because when we see Rebels, like Hera and crew are building the rebellion with Leia, but is he having any part in that, or is he just kind of fighting people just cause? Like,
right. They could go in two very different directions. Like he's hands-on involved in the rebellion, or they just flit off to the Outer Rim, and it's just like these kind of space rogues, like solving crimes and doing good, maybe throughout the galaxy that is like completely disassociated from anything else.
I mean, really could be. I mean, because again, much like with like how they kind of dance around, well, where was Ahsoka during this thing and that thing, and then they kindly weave that around with the time doors that you saw in the episode of Rebels. But you're still like, well, where did Ezra end up at? So I get the feeling that maybe Cal and Sarah and their ship in general, they might have just get rubbed out or something, because I mean they may not live that much longer. I mean the big blowout from your potential sequel could be their valiant death. I mean, I'm sorry, because again,
Charlie,
because you just don't end up seeing him in anything else. So
do this to me.
It's not me, man. I don't work for Disney, but I just don't really see. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I don't really see how they're going to have. Well, here's yet another, Jedi guy, but he, got a flat tire and was stuck on this planet for 35 years.
Yeah.
The same thing that they made sense of it with Grogu, that Grogu's not at the Jedi Academy because he ended up going back to be with Daddy. So that made sense. But what was Cal's part in the overall everything? Well, I'm just afraid he's going to end up getting blown up. I'm sorry.
It's honestly, that's probably what will happen. Same with when I've discussed the Bad Batch with my friends. I feel like they're going to, because otherwise we would have heard about them.
Right. Yeah. They're not. You don't have all of your in-between characters aren't like all on a planet together in their own sitcom. It's not like the B-listers and friends of Nar Shaddaa or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that we didn't get Omega in the Book of Boba Fett, like at least a hint at her, makes me very, very worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even if none of the Bad Batch themselves survive, I was hoping like she'd show up with maybe one of them that was just kind of like still kind of kicking, like Rex did, but like just nothing. So like, yeah.
Talk about the never-ending payday for Tamira Morrison, because he's all of those characters.
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be like, and here he is as Rex, but it's in The Mandalorian. So here he is with a beard. Yeah.
That's just like when he did that interview. He's just like, you can't cover this. This is the money.
Yeah. This is. I'm the man of 1,000 faces, literally.
Yeah.
And he said like he'd be up for being whoever. Like he's just game. He's down for like being Rex or being like he's like, yeah, put me in anything, because $1 million face.
Exactly.
I'll do it.
So and I mean with the success of Boba Fett, I think they'll happily put him in whatever, because people like him or like the characters he plays or whatever. So so that's awesome. Anything else you guys want to add to wrap this up with your thoughts on Jedi Fallen Order?
As the non-gamer, like I said, and just watching the cutscenes movie, I liked it. I love how faithful, as much as possible, the characters mirror the actors that they are. Cameron Monaghan, Deborah Wilson. I was to say Todd, but sorry, Mark. I did mention that the ninth sister was voiced by, what was her name again?
Misty Lee.
Misty Lee is a native of Metro Detroit, same as myself. Grew up in a neighboring town from where I'm from, and we have almost the same birth date. So it's just like, whoa, crazy Star Wars connection. So anyway, that was my thing. I was kind of smiling about while I was watching this as I'm going through IMDb, which I always do. Yeah.
Yep. There's that's one thing we didn't touch on, but like I would love to see any of these characters, and we kind of like hinted at that when we saw BD1 in Boba Fett, or like BD Droid, not even BD1. I just want something, because why use these actors and use their likenesses in the game if you weren't going to drop like Cal in something, whether he meets, just like introduce him to Ahsoka or do something live action, just like have these characters pop up. I'm still holding out hope that this is not just a video game franchise.
A lot of people thought that, until for me and some other comic book people, when we saw the blue butterflies, we knew it was a Skywalker with Grogu. Like when he was meditating, but a lot of people thought that Cal Kestis was going to be the one that showed up.
Me too.
Oh, gotcha.
I was one of those people.
Yeah,
that would have been something.
Yep.
Yeah. I would have lost it. I would have absolutely lost it.
Because there was a lot of concept art floating around there of like, here's what Cameron Monaghan, like they could kind of age him up a little bit. Here's what he could look like. They threw like a beard on him, or like gave, a facial scar or something to make him look a tiny bit older.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of concept art coming around, and like it convinced me like, yeah, this is going to be the guy that comes and like does something with Grogu. Like this is, and then we're gonna see him and see Grogu as part of the crew in Fallen Order 2. It just kind of started to make sense, and it didn't go that way. And I'm not unhappy with how it went down, but like
Right.
I would have loved to see that. I
Right.
still want to see these characters in live action.
I hear you. Hold out hope. Hold out hope.
Yep.
Right. I will say, if you're a video game person and you like Star Wars, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, I recommend playing Fallen Order if you haven't played it. And if you're not a video game person, look up the movie cut of this game on YouTube.
Not hard to
Talk to
find.
Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to watch it all at once, but like man, it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
No,
Yeah.
great story, very immersive. It's got a larger backdrop than really any of the other productions. There's nothing on Tatooine.
That is very true.
Which is nice. Let's face it. That one's a little that old chestnut is a little long in the tooth. So yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Just wait till we get the Book of Tatooine.
No,
and it's all
boy.
about just the weird little places, and each episode is a different.
It follows
planet.
Watto.
Yeah, oh god.
Disney Plus in 5 years, the well's just dry. They're like, we're gonna do a Watto show.
There we
Let's
go.
go.
Jar Jar's gonna show up at the end for a duel.
Yep. Can't wait. I will watch it day one. Be like, yep, that's the new Wednesday mornings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would 100% still watch that. I'm terrible.
Of course. I know.
Terrible. Riley, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a blast. It's great to talk to someone on this show about video games. Charlie doesn't like video games so much. I had to find another co-host to talk just about video games for on my off weeks. So and Todd and I have been talking about doing like a Star Wars video game podcast. So then this one came up and it's just great. So thank you again for joining us. Where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at Riley Antoinette. That's RiLeyantoinette. Sorry, I know it's so long. And you can find me also on Twitter.
We'll include that in the show.
A little bit shorter. Yeah, it's a little bit shorter on Twitter. It's just Riley Antoine because the net was too long.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. This was great.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
You got
Absolute
it.
pleasure. Yeah. Charlie.
And of course, for me, you can find me on Twitter at the C3, spell it out, CEE. I also run most of the content through our Secret Friends Unite Facebook page. So if I post something and you think it's dumb, then you know it's me. And I also run a Michigan-based chapter of the Star Trek International Fan Club, the USS Grand Petoskey, which I don't talk about a lot here, but that's something I do. So come check me out.
I was just going to say this is the first episode where Charlie didn't make a Star Trek reference. But
Wow!
when you sign out, you always do. So there we go.
I did. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So even when you don't, you do. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and pretty much everywhere, _Canardian. And join our Discord channel as well. Always some great chats going on there. But today, the Twitter was hitting it up more than Discord. So thanks if you commented on Twitter. Hopefully you're listening to this episode. Thanks for the comments and the great chats. And hope you enjoyed.
You got it. All righty, Roo. Well, friends, thank you for joining us. As always, I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trekking.
You son of a bitch. It screwed me all up. May the force be with you, Rex. Play us out. Charlie, God. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.